broadcasting not live, but on a pre-recorded manner, but out of the house. The outside broadcasting unit is broadcasting to you in an outside exterior type external manner from the Connaught.
Smoking and less sampling.
Well, I mean, we live to sample. That's what
we are sampling.
I'm going to sample. What are we sampling now? The newly increased Colonialis.
Yes, yeah, the pound a minute cigar, I like to call it. It's very exciting. It's a great smoke, though.
How much are these now? A lot.
I don't know, £45 maybe.
That's amazing. And what were they before the price hike? 18 or something.
£42 maybe.
No. Now look, yeah, you've got
like £30.
That's
the Ellie Blur table lighter.
God, it's like they could use this at NASA to put that spacecraft
Bloody
into
hell,
orbit.
I mean, that's a bit fierce. You don't want to be using. Don't use that.
For this time in the morning.
That's the like a 60 or 70 ring gauge cigar.
But that's the. Is that
this
the what I gave
this
you?
is what. Yeah, this is the 1980s Gatsby. I think you bought it at Harrods, didn't you?
I think I might have done. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got my Cartier lighter out there.
I think we've got this thing for display more than practical.
It is like from NASA, that thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But we're here and we've been having a look at the incredibly rare and unseen, unheard of cigars.
I mean, what is our normal thing? Unfashionable and unavailable. This one is unfashionable. No, extremely fashionable. Were it available, but it's a sort of state secret. I mean, these are cigars that are like.
There's some proper stuff in here.
I mean, stuff that.
I mean, there's so we were looking at the Millennium range from the jars. So there was the Coaba, the Cohiba, and the Monte Cristo, but there apparently was also the Upmann Corona in a box instead of a jar, which they have here, which were given out at the festival or something in the 2000.
I am old enough to remember that festival. I remember being on the coach thinking, should I buy a box? Should I buy a jar, rather? And of course, being an impoverished young man at the time, I didn't. And had I been able to buy a jar, I could have sold it now and retired.
I know, it's great. It's great, isn't it? And then there's also what other stuff? There's Behiques from the first year of release. I mean, not the first kind of numbered ones, but the 200010.
The year before release.
What were they? £1,300 a stick for the 56?
£1,300 a stick for the 56.
Which
so we had a couple. We choked a couple of those down, viewer, before we started.
It's a little too cheap, actually. I think.
I feel that they're giving them away.
Yeah. I mean, and then there was there's the Partagas P #1, which came in a jar never seen before.
Partagas P #10. And the Romeo Super Dupe Aureus.
The Behique 59.5.
That's a beautiful cigar.
Beautiful cigar.
I mean, viewer, it is hard to express my astonishment in terms that will fully convey the surprise with which I set upon these cigars.
It's brilliant. And what else? A variety of limited editions, all the Reservas and Grand Reservas pretty much. Siglo 6, Grand Reserva, D4 Reservas. The Wide Churchill, which I wasn't so keen on actually.
Was that a Reserva?
Grand Reserva,
you know what? That cigar,
it tastes all right, but it's plugged more than that.
I thought it was dull, and I actually think that I've had better standard production. That's the only Reserva. The Monte Cristo #4 Reserva was a bit of a disappointment. Was that?
Well, that was the one that shouldn't have been made, right? That's the one that.
Well, that one. That's an accusation you can lay at a number of cigars.
But also, you'll never see it. That's the thing. They've all been smoked as if they were regular #4s at the time. That's the thing, just with a second band on them. Yeah, you can never find a box of them.
Well, that may not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because the best Partagas seems to be the one that lends itself best to the Reserva and Grand Reserva treatment, in my opinion.
Like the Lusitania and the
Lusitania, the Series D #4 Reserva is, to my mind, still, maybe because I have great affection for that one, because I was tasting it before it was launched, and we were at the Partagas factory, and I went to see the stuff being.
Was that 2005 it was launched?
You know, you're ahead of me on that one. I mean, my age and my now. You must forgive me for my sort of my failing memory at my great age. But yes, I think it was this century sometime. Towards the beginning.
Perhaps it was earlier than that, God alone knows. Oh yeah, because there was the first Reserva selection before that, which was the Do you remember that? The selection of pyramides.
I remember the mixed ability box.
The mixto frito.
It was like one of those mixed biscuit shortbread selections. You've got the round one, you've got the square one, you've got the oblong one, you've got the and then you have it in a tin with tartan all over.
Yeah.
And the man in the tartan thingamabob dancing a Highland whatchamacallit.
That's the thing. And what else? They've got you know, what they don't have, which I didn't know existed until yesterday, was the Monte Cristo number 6, which was a Suane, the same size.
Oh,
as
you
the
love that.
Esposito.
That's your favorite size, isn't it?
That's a great size.
I still don't think there is any ligero in that.
It's a 33, so it's.
Yes, I know that it's permissible.
I think you might be right.
I think it's permissible, but they don't. And that's what I find amazing, is they can make a cigar that is quite punchy, and yet, you know, only Secco and Velado. It's. I mean, again, once more, the magic of the blending and torsadoring.
But the Monte number 6, so apparently it was in production from the 80s to the late 90s, and I'd never heard of it before in my life.
It escaped without troubling the palate of too many smokers. I take it.
That's the one. That's the one.
But why don't we? I mean, I hate to kind of return to the business at hand, Max, because you know. But for a breakfast cigar, and this is really the first sustenance we've had all morning at this early hour. For the breakfast cigar, I think it's quite nourishing, don't you?
It's delicious. Well, I suggested we smoke these, as I had a Reyes not too long ago, which is fabulous.
Now, is this just because, have they got better because
they're more expensive? Yes.
They're more expensive, so they taste better.
Yeah.
It's the same cigar, but just put the price up, and it tastes what? Twice as good?
I mean, I might even say 3 times.
It is delicious. This is what got me into the Trinidad in the first place. It's mild. It's even burn, this one. It's actually quite a good cigar.
They're much better, I think, than the younger, wider gauges. Because despite the blend being the same, perhaps it's a different delivery of flavor. It's a cooler smoke, but I think with this blend, that's not what you need. With a fuller body, maybe a Partagas, a Ramon, or a Bolivar, a wider gauge is helpful, but for a medium body like this, I think the slimmer the gauge, the better.
You need to concentrate the flavor is what you're talking about.
I think so. For example, so the Media Luna and Vigía, they're good cigars. The Esmeralda is an awful smoke. The Topaz is enjoyable, but dislocation of one's jaw is needed to smoke that cigar.
I don't like that.
It's a 56 gauge. But then they also have here the Robusto Extra.
Nice cigar. With old ones.
Old ones.
But proper old ones from like 2005 or something.
Like that, alongside the 2004 Siglo 6 as well. So they've got some nice...
that is still, for me, the finest expression of the Cuban civilization.
Is that vintage or just aged? You might be able to tell me. 2004. I mean, to you, it's current, though.
To me, that's barely out of infancy.
Yesterday, perhaps this morning. But this
cigar, for me, that would be infanticide, smoking something from the 2000s, when I have plenty of good cigars from the 1990s still knocking around. I mean, why tackle something so young? It's only 18 years old, plus obviously the fermentations beforehand, so it's probably maximum 20, 21 years old, that tobacco.
God,
you wouldn't want to trouble that as it's
no.
In its first flush of youth.
Yeah. I mean, it needs much more time.
It needs time to bed in, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfair to sort of to test it really in its youth.
It is. And we sit here, we sit on chairs. Upon well upholstered chairs with tables in the side.
Yeah.
Look at that. Miniature wings.
Yeah.
Ooh. And the floors and ceilings are perforated
to ensure that we can play air hockey.
There is a bejeweled and cedar wood lined fire.
Bedizened. It's a bedizened. I would call that ceiling. I would call it bedizened.
It's very good. It's a very, whatever it is. I mean, there's a huge diamond in the middle of that fire alarm.
That's what we have in the hovel, though. I have to say, we prefer actually in the hovel. We prefer to have sapphires. And we've got one Golconda. We've got one Golconda yellow diamond, I think. The Golconda mine, as you know, really ceased to yield stones after the 17th or maybe even the 16th century. I don't know. But anyway, we're lucky enough to have one of those. But yes, this is a good ceiling. We can safely say that
it's a good ceiling. It's a good floor. Great ladders.
Great ladders. Now, ladders are one thing that we'd have a few ladders at the Ancestral Hovel, but not ladders of this.
I've got a footstool from Edward from the 80s.
That's a faux leather cushion.
Yeah, I mean that's
a proper cigar artifact. We should take that to one of these cigar shows and exhibit it.
Really should.
The Edward Sahakian folding stool. We are going to, except for viewers who, the debenture holders and those of you who venture beyond the paywall of Foulkes Sons, that may or may not be in place, where there will be special, full-length, feature-length, director's cut versions of these lunatic conversations, available for people able to shell out the vast sums of money required to join the elite group of debenture holders and paywall explorers, as I believe they say on the internet. Paywall climbers, paywall climbers. Anyway, viewer, behind or in front of the paywall, we'll be back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Well, not. I mean, for the viewer behind the paywall, we were always there in giving that valuable heirloom footage.
Yeah.
But for viewers in front of the paywall, we now return from our Elysian jaunt beyond the paywall in those happy hunting grounds of televisual experience, and return to explain a bit what we're doing here. First of all, this is the Connaught, formerly the Coburg Hotel until about 1916, I think. My first visit here was, I think, in the 1980s, when I came. They used to do a very good kipper pate, I remember correctly, in the grill.
Oh, that sounds right up your street.
And they did a partridge chartreuse that took 2 people all morning to make one dish.
Wow.
I think it was a partridge chartreuse, anyway, whatever. Let us say it was. And Monsieur Boudin was the chef in those days.
Oh, that does sound very, very good.
Those were the days. But they do it. I mean, I have to say they've done a marvelous job with this smoking. This sampling room.
It's fantastic. And I was having another look at the cigars in there, and Freddie's got some fine footage of
available to viewers both in front and behind the paywall.
Of Cohiba Sublimes and Piques from the first year of production. They've got the Maduro Magicos or Genios from the first year of production as well, first year of release. I mean, you can't find current production, let alone the first year. And then what else was I looking at?
We have rare prototypes of cigars.
I mean, even stuff that should be readily available, which isn't, is here. So like Linea de Oro and all the Maduro line, and I mean, it's a fine selection of cigars.
Yeah, but to be fair, you've got all those in the Edward Sahakian Special Reserve, haven't you?
Well, Edward's got everything.
Edward's got everything, including stuff that, but from the 1980s, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's got
stuff that's been there since he opened the shop.
He's got stuff. Yeah, stuff that's been there, and stuff that's been in the shop since the year the box was dated.
Dunhill Cabinettas.
And what are those fabulous Upmans you like smoking, which unbanded in a cabinet of 25? It's Royal Selection number 11.
Royal Selection number 11. That, viewer, is one of the most sensational cigars.
That's a very good cigar.
That really is. Do you remember where did we have one?
We had one in Spain, I think it was. Yeah, and you brought the box back with you. But yeah, and you know what they don't have, or something I haven't seen, which is unsurprising. I mean, you would have thought they'd have it, considering what else they have here. Is the world's first regional, which was the first UK regional, the Ramon Bellicosos.
The Ramon Bellicosos. So where did the Paul Larrañaga Magnifico fit into that then? That came
that
second.
Was 2007.
Yeah, that was the first. Was that the first official regional?
I think it might have been, yes.
Because the other one was made as a sort of prototype, wasn't it? I mean, it was like not called. It's like all these things they didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was nothing on it
to indicate that it was. Except that our superior knowledge.
Yeah.
We know. Those who know, and those who know, and those who don't know think that it's something else.
Might find out.
Yes, but anyone won't find out from watching us, viewer.
Because there was the new Hunters and Vrenkow House Reserve. The 1790 House Reserve Humidor was released recently. A box worth nothing without Gemma Freeman's signature on it.
Yes, I mean, Gemma Freeman's signature. I think they should just sell that on scraps of paper.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a pass by.
The cigars are worthless without that.
Yes.
But anyway, so they've got 10 of a variety of regional and limited Ramons, but only one of the Bellicosos, which shows that hunters don't even have enough to sell. Let alone.
These are historical artifacts. It really should be in the British Museum. But you, viewer, can set fire to them.
They'd have to be stolen before they're put in the British Museum, though.
Yeah. That's not fair. That's not fair to the British Museum. But we're not going to get into the debate about the Elgin marbles here.
Is it the Parthenon or the Pantheon?
That's it. George Clooney. George Clooney wanted them returned to the Pantheon, didn't he, in Rome? Which, why not give the and then we can swap something from Italy back to Chicago or something like, or Cincinnati, where Cincinnatus was named.
What, instead of Sicily?
Well, no, but we got Cincinnatus was this, as you know from the Boris Johnson resignation speech, was a farmer who was called upon by the Roman Republic to defend it. And then there was another general called the Cunctator, which was very good as well.
That sounds very good.
Yes, he was all about stopping. I think he kept Hannibal on the go by just stopping. Just sort of
The Cunctator.
Yeah. He didn't actually go into battle with Hannibal. He just kept him kind of busy.
Well, that's how things should be conducted now. That's how war should be conducted.
Yes, with minimum casualties.
Keeping people busy.
Keeping people busy.
But it's fabulous to be here, and it's very kind for them to have us, and also very kind for Adam to keep out the punters while
Yes,
we're here.
we must say thank you
I
to
can
Adam.
see them.
They're queuing round the block.
They're clawing at the window.
They are. It is like a scene from one of those post-apocalyptic horror movies when we're inside the safe haven.
Can you not hear them throwing bottles or the sound?
There's a riot. They're dispersing them now with mounted police. And there's a man in a wagon, a Westminster wagon, driving through the crowds, hitting them with electric sticks.
It's like
viewer. This is the apocalyptic. This is the apocalypse now. The cigar apocalypse.
God, I bet we're upsetting a lot of people by doing this.
Why?
Being here, disallowing people from smoking first release Foulkes.
We are. What do we say? More than halfway through the cigar now. Just over halfway through.
And this is
It's delicious.
it's great. I
I don't know whether it's the price increase that has improved the flavour or whether it's just good.
It's a huge cigar, 44 ring gauge. God save us.
I mean that for you, Max. I know you prefer something a little more like a kind of twig.
Yeah. I often walk through the park and mistake twigs for Rafael Gonzalez Slenderellas.
Or a blade of grass.
Unbanded Slenderellas. A blade of, perhaps gourmets, maybe.
Hoyo du Gourmet, yes.
Yeah. What was the Dauphin? That was a Laguito #2. Was that a Corona Especial?
And there was the Hoyo.
The Dead Dieu, the Du Roi.
The Du Roi. The Du Prince, the Du
Fine,
Roi,
the
the Du
Du Prince,
Député,
the
the
Du
Du
Prince.
Député.
The Deputy is still around. And
Yeah.
as good as it always has
The
been.
Hoyo du Prince, the Hoyo de Du Roi, the Hoyo de Dieu, the Hoyo de Dieu. Freddie has got yet another event to go and photograph after photographing the Cigar Keep event last night, which was a triumph.
It was brilliant. It was very.
We had
very
nice
good.
Mr. Carlos Rizio, we had nice Mr. Tom Chamberlain, we had nice Mr. Hani Farsi, we had nice Mr. Shari Rahman,
We had lovely Mo Coppolietta.
we had fantastic Mr. Jeremy Hackett.
Fantastic Hackett.
Anyway, viewer,
It's been a pleasure, and
I
highly
been
recommend.
an exquisite pleasure, and I would recommend that you pay
must.
this a visit just to admire the ladders.
The ladders are very good. It's a great shame you can't slide along the humidors with the ladders, but there we are. You can't have everything.
That's something that we can do next time.
Yeah, and next time we shall see you.